I think we're all excited to see and hear Madea Benjamin. She's the person who has, like the old song said, she's been everywhere, man. She's been everywhere, man. So, as she's stopping here in Des Moines on her way to Jeju Island, please give a warm Iowa welcome to founder of Code Pink, Madea Benjamin.
Well, I've been to a lot of places, but I've never been to Iowa, which is quite amazing. And to come out here the first time, and the first day I'm here, to be out at a protest feels very good, especially to be with great people like you. It's unfortunate that we have to look behind us and see what the plans are for turning this base into a center for drones. And, it is really amazing with all the problems we have in the world. If you want to convert a base like this to something useful for the planet, we could think of a lot of things, couldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice to turn this into production of solar panels, right? Of windmills would be lovely. All kinds of things for the terrible climate chaos that we're going to be facing in the coming years. We need the National Guard for that. We need the National Guard to help us when there are floods, when there are hurricanes, when there are all kinds of national disasters. We don't need the National Guard to be part of a perpetual war machine, do we?
No.
So it is a very historic day, not only for the reasons that Mary told us about, but also because President Obama is speaking tonight and is going to try to convince the nation that after over 12 years of being in war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and after the American people have finally gotten really tired of war, to tell the American people we have to get back into it again. Not that we've ever stopped, because the drone wars have been going on. But he's going to say that the only way that we can confront the terror of ISIS is by U.S. bombs. Now, that doesn't make any sense at all. It was the U.S. invasion to begin with that opened the space for ISIS to be created, right?
Yep.
It was the U.S. invasion and the putting of a sectarian Shia leader in place, alienating the Sunni community, that gave ISIS the strength that it has today.
That's right.
And it is the foreign intervention that is the justification for people not only within Iraq, but all over the world to go to join ISIS to fight the West.
Exactly.
And if the West didn't fall into the trap, we would not be the target of ISIS.
That's right.
So by the president tonight announcing another phase of U.S. intervention, making the U.S. a serial occupier of Iraq, the president is going to take us into what phase, I don't know what round you want to call this, but it really is perpetual war. Now, it is also the day before the 13th anniversary of the 9/11 attack. And Ed just gave me this paper this morning to look at, and it's just astounding, because you think if anybody had a chance to look at this, they would say, what are we doing? So here it shows 2001, Al-Qaeda being in Afghanistan. You see the one blue mark right here. They have it as a sole blue mark here. And then you fast forward to 2014, you have Libya, Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Philippines, and Nigeria. Now, do you think we've been successful in the way that we have gone about fighting Al-Qaeda?
No.
It makes absolutely no sense. Now, I have been in a number of these countries. I've talked to people not only who have been fighting Al-Qaeda type groups, but people who have actually joined them. I sat in the home of a woman whose 2 teenage children had joined Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula in Yemen. And she told me, my sons had no issue with the United States. Their issue was the dictatorship in our own government. and the United States came in and killed my 2 teenage boys. And what do you think we feel now? What do you think our whole family feels now? We hate America. You are creating enemies. And that's what the U.S. is doing with the drone strikes. That's what the U.S. is doing with these interventions. Now, it is very, 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 very horrible that there are beheadings going on right now. That is disgusting. It is barbaric. But is there something more civilized about killing people by drones? Is it somehow okay because we do it by high-tech warfare? Is it somehow better when you see hundreds of pounds of Hellfire missiles being dropped on innocent people with the pieces of flesh being left hanging from the trees? Is that a civilized way of killing people?
That ain't right.
Look at how many more people we have been killing with the drone strikes. Thousands of people. And here we are, the United States, supposed to be a moral center. And yet, when we go around the world, in places where we are not even officially at war, and we drop these drones without giving people a chance to surrender, without giving them a chance to a trial, what does that say about the morality of the United States? You've all probably watched what was happening in Ferguson, and Michael Brown standing with his hands up. Hands up, what does that mean? Don't shoot. I have seen a lot of pictures of people coming out of their homes, looking up in the sky and putting their hands up, saying, don't shoot. Do you think somebody who's at a base here, once this Iowa National Guard becomes a center, is going to say, oh, let's look at these people in Pakistan. They have their hands up saying, don't shoot, let's not shoot at them. No, they're going to press that button anyway. That is killing people without any kind of judicial process. You know, talking about anniversaries, we're also coming up on the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta. Have you heard of the Magna Carta? People have been fighting for centuries to have the right to due process. And drone warfare takes away any semblance of due process. Now, the United States has been the #1 in the use of drones in many places around the world. But there's another country that is the #1 in the export of drones and #2 in killing people with drones, and that is Israel. And if you look at this last horrendous invasion with over 2,000 people being killed, a lot of that killing was being done by drones. A lot of the drone technology that we are seeing perfected is done between the militaries and the companies of the United States and Israel. Now you think of what all that money could go for. You think of what all that expertise could go for. You think about all those brilliant engineers and what they could be doing to make the world better. And instead, they're perfecting the killing machines that are now spreading around the world. And when the U.S. goes ahead and when Israel goes ahead, and you know, in Israel, when it sells the drones overseas, it actually says in its marketing material, it brags about how we are constantly testing this on the battlefield, testing it against the Palestinian people. And so the U.S. and Israel are spreading this technology. And I had a gentleman in Yemen say to me, maybe the American people don't care when it is people of color, poor people in thousands of miles away like Yemen and Pakistan or Somalia that are being killed. Maybe the American people think, oh, just another terrorist, who cares? But you know what he said? We feel like we're the guinea pigs. And this technology is going to come back to haunt you in the United States. We are seeing that now with the militarization of our police forces from Ferguson all the way across this country, with tanks in our streets, with camouflage uniforms, with assault weapons, grenade launchers in the hands of the military. But guess what? The FAA is mandated to open up our airspace to drones by the end of 2015. And guess who's lining up to get those drones? 18,000 police forces across the United States. They all want drones. And those drones can be equipped with lasers, with grenade launchers. Those drones can be equipped with all kinds of lethal and, quote, non-lethal technologies. So while we are spreading the drone warfare all over the world, the drone warfare is going to come back to haunt us here unless we stop it. And there's where I want to say that we have been having an incredible impact. when we started out, and I'm saying we because we are part of this movement with groups like Veterans for Peace and groups like WILF and Catholic Workers and fabulous, fabulous groups that have been sounding the whistle against drone warfare for years now. When we started, 83% of the American public were just fine with killing terrorist suspects with drones. That has dropped now to about 60%. And as we keep moving in our movement, it must drop to under 50%, because we've got to convince the American people that drone warfare is just as barbaric as taking out a machete and cutting somebody's head off.
Amen.
We have also shamed our government into refusing to talk about drone warfare, a covert program in the hands of the most covert agencies, the CIA and the Joint Special Operations Command. We say this is democracy. At least tell us what the hell it is you are doing in our name. We force the government to talk about drone warfare, and that's the first step, and that's one of the reasons why so many more Americans are turning against it. Now, I started out by saying that the president is going to talk tonight, and that so many Americans have already been fooled into saying that it is okay to go back into war with in Iraq. But when you look at the way those polls are done, think of the questions that people are asked. Do you think if they were asked, is it okay to go back in and bomb in Iraq when we know that innocent people will be killed? Do you think the American people would say yes?
No.
If they were asked, is it okay to go back into a war in Iraq knowing that in the process we would be making more enemies and keeping this state of war going forever, do you think they'd say yes?
No.
Do you think if the American people were asked, should we go back into war in Iraq knowing that we would only exacerbate the problem? We would show the Sunnis, we would show people in the Arab world that the Americans are once again killing Arabs and turning them against us. Do you think they would say, yeah, let's go in there and start bombing again?
No.
How about if we ask the American people, let's take the $5 billion that President Obama says he wants for this phase of the war, and remember he's saying that it's going to go on for years, so that's a lot more money. What if we said to the American people, how about taking that $5 billion and using it to provide clean drinking water for people who don't have it, to find a cure for Ebola, to help the 1.8 million people in Gaza who are now struggling just to survive day by day, to provide shelters for the Yazidis and the Turkmen and the Kurds who are being hurt in this humanitarian crisis? Do you think that would be a positive thing for America to do in the world?
Yes.
Do you think that would win us some more hearts and minds than Hellfire missiles would? So we have to get the American people to ask the right questions. We have to get the American people to answer the right questions. And so when we hear President Obama tonight, let's not get discouraged. Let's treat it as one more challenge, as we have had so many challenges since 9/11. And that challenge is to stop the Iowa National Guard from using this as a place to kill more people around the world.
Yeah.
Use this as a challenge, like Martin Luther King said, to say that we can get a lot more with unconditional love than we can with dropping Hellfire missiles. And so why don't you repeat with me? When drones fly, children die. 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 And the last thing we should chant, I think, is, I don't know if you've heard of the singer-songwriter Michael Franti, but he has a phrase that I love, and he says, you can bomb the world to pieces, but you can't bomb the world to peace. And then he ends his songs with Power to the Peaceful. So let's do a little chanting of Power to the Peaceful. You can either do a fist or a peace sign, however it makes you feel. Power to the peaceful. Power to the peaceful. Power to the peaceful. Power to the peaceful. Thank you, Iowa, for what you're doing, and it's a real honor to be out with you today.
Thank you.